And we're live. Well, good morning, ladies, gentlemen, extraterrestrials, hobbits, and cryptids, to a, finale episode of Scuttlebutt with the Phill. This will be our last episode of the year, and not the last episode ever. We'll be returning again in January, January 10th, 2025. And we'll be returning with a whole new rebrand of the channel. And I hope you guys enjoy, as I had mentioned in the State of the Channel stream earlier. These last few months that we've been operating the channel, we've gone from basically no subscribers to just under, we have 64 last I checked, so I think we're doing pretty good. The real goal was to reach 100 by the end of the year. It doesn't seem like we'll be achieving that. Our goal will be ambitious. We're going to next year. I think we'll be able to achieve it strictly because I feel like with the plans that we have in place for this channel and the plans that we have in place for just the general apparatus that I have operational for our my business model, I don't see how we'll backslide anytime soon. I feel like next year is going to be a pretty good year for the channel, for my entertainment company, and pretty good year for me as well. I think we're going to be doing a lot of interesting and unique things here on the channel. We're going to be splitting this show into 4 different shows because we'll be having the our talk show element, and then we'll have a sort of interview-based show. We'll have my vlog series, which will be starting sort of the pilot episode in a little bit here, and then from there we have a lot of different things that we'll be adding to our Monday slot, because we're going to be moving from doing what we've been doing, which is just straight lives, and we'll be actually adding video essays and short videos that are more related to the content of the channel. Nothing that has been produced so far is planned to be removed, so everything that was a part of the Fleet Admiral Levi part of the brand will remain. There's no plans on getting rid of any of that. I'm not a person who likes to erase their past, so anything that was created by me on this channel, including the early AI video tests that we started the channel with, those will be staying. There's a good chance that we will probably end up redoing some of those videos through human means, and ideally that'll mean that we don't end up with what we've been doing with sort of doing live streams. And I think that'll be better for us in the long run. I think the AI video test was a good test, and it proved a few things to me, and it showed me a few things that it still needs to do. I don't think we're going to rely on AI much at all moving forward, aside from maybe suggesting content ideas. But once the channel gets a larger following, I think we'll probably end up doing a thing where we opt against any AI input, and we'll just focus strictly on audience input, and we'll be adding more access to polls and other interactive elements so that the audience can have more of an active say in the direction of the channel. Beyond that, there's definitely plans in place for different types of video essays that we would produce on the channel. I'm kind of thinking that I spend a weekend every month filming and then spending the subsequent weeks editing the videos and then posting them on a regular schedule, which we will be keeping our Monday schedule of video essays, which was originally the plan for the channel. We never got that off the ground. And then Wednesdays will be for short videos, which we also only did sporadically. And then Fridays will remain our live stream nights. But we'll be moving the show to a Friday night slot. So it'll be designed strictly for people who, because the Mondays and the Wednesday videos will probably be posted in the morning to coincide with 6 a.m. Eastern. So that would really mean 3 a.m. Pacific. So people all around the United States would be waking up to it. This is more of a American or even Canadian based sort of channel. So if someone's watching in Canada or here in the United States, you'll be privy to the information by time zone. So 6 a.m. Eastern, you'll be seeing the first episode of whatever show it'll be on Monday or Wednesday, and then moving forward from there. So Friday, we're thinking about moving the live stream show to the evening, but it might be completely contingent on how we feel about certain people's schedules. Some people might not be able to make live streams on Friday, so we'll be doing something where we'll be still having the live stream, but if people can't make it, or there are some other obligations of someone that they just can't make it on Friday night, we will do a thing where we add them to a pre-recorded list, and then we film them whenever they're available, and then we release that video on that Monday, and then we might clip things out of it for the Wednesday shorts videos. So I think that's a good rhythm for the channel. I think that'll help us get the word out of the channel. We're going to focus a lot more on world building as we move forward. The channel will be moving from just normal Fleet Admiral Levi perspective to more of a broader. We'll be kind of narrowing down our focus from just science fiction, fantasy, and horror, and zeroing in on specifically science fiction in general. The genre is quite large, and I feel like we get more responses because we're going to be more of a sci-fi channel or a science fiction based channel on its face, instead of being sort of a science fiction, fantasy, and horror suite. And so as much as I love the other two genres, we will probably do something like what we did this past year, where we cover horror as like a special month-long or even week-long event closer to Halloween, and then we would do fantasy month or week closer to Thanksgiving or Christmas. So that would probably be the preferred route as we move forward. So I think that's going to be an interesting experiment, and we'll see how that actually works, because I feel like giving whole months to specific genres somewhat hurt us in certain regards, but I don't think I want to get rid of that, since the other two genres are very important to me, and so I would like to keep them somewhere involved in our channel's growth, because I feel like you don't get me without a couple of other genres, and those genres fantasy and horror, so I want to keep them in some capacity, even if that capacity is somewhat diminished. I mean, world building, strictly science fiction world building is kind of enormous on its own, so branching out into other genres really doesn't hurt us all that much. We're just adding to a larger chorus, but I don't mind it, and I'd hope in the long run we do enough to convince my readership or my audience here to continue on and listening to more of the actual stuff that interests me. So, with that being said, so we'll be splitting this show into 4 different parts. The show itself will remain Scuttlebutt with the Phill. There'll be the Phill vlogs, the Phill show, and at least a couple other odds and ends that I'm currently thinking of. But there'll be a series of different shows through the month that we'll be focusing on, and we'll probably take up the majority of our Monday slots. So there'll be a video essay on one week, then there'll be an interview on another, and there'll be more. There'll be different types of things you'll see through the month, but it'll restart itself as you move with each month. So there was an interview episode on week 2. There'll be an interview week on week 2 the following month. So it'll be kind of like that'll be sort of our rhythm for now into whenever this channel does end up being scuttled. So Scuttlebutt with the Phill. Hopefully it's never going to be scuttled itself, but a lot of things can happen. But in general, we'll be moving from the Fleet Admiral side, and we'll be moving into something that's a little more, I'd say, interesting, since we'll be dropping the Fleet Admiral Levi persona, and we'll be moving toward a upgraded, which in actuality it's a downgrade, but Fleet Admiral Levi will become Commander Levi, and there'll be a running gag that we'll have through the show where I'm never really specific on how I got my demotion. So I think that'll be kind of interesting because we're going to be having more of a Mr. Plinkett sort of persona built around that part of the channel, because we're going to be doing something where we rebrand the channel as Levi's Lore, at least at this point, and that's kind of the working title that we would start with on January 10th. And that would be sort of the main goal, to have the channel have more of a comedic edge to it, as well as a focus on world building, because there's such a density in my own writing. And I've actually thought about just dedicating the entire channel strictly to my world building. And this would basically mean that instead of becoming a channel like the Templin Institute or Space Dock or channels like that, we would end up becoming more of a channel like, you haven't heard of it yet, but it's called Rick's Creations, and he's basically working on videos that help improve his world building, letting the audience know what's going on with it. And his approach, I think, is very innovative and unique, and I want to kind of emulate that in some respects. But yeah, it's just an entire channel dedicated to his one project. And the more I think about it, I think I would love to do something where we dedicate large portions of this channel strictly to my Explorer series, which used to be called From the Earth to the Stars. And we'll be using that title, but it won't be for any specific project. I think we'll be moving that to a part of something else. And so I think still a strong title, but I feel like the audiences don't react very well to very long titles unless they're something established. And so I think we'll be moving to just being referred to as the Explorer series. And then as we go through, I would love to dive into the Bathtub King universe that I've had sitting around for a while, which is more of a surrealist comedy novel series. And then I'd love to dive into the American Dictator, which I had to slowly but surely move from its premiere date back in, I think, September. We had to move it to January, and now there's potentiality we'll have to move it to April, but I think it works out better since the outcome of the election, I think, will be good for the novel. So I think the novel will be a success with that in mind. So, but with anything, I do plan to release further editions because at this point I don't know creating the actual perfect novel or the perfect version of whatever book it is. And so I've come to peace with the fact that I might end up having to do that. So um, that's going to be perfectly fine. But I do plan to sign a few copies of the book and sell them privately on my personal website, philipleavenworth.com. And once that's live, I will definitely be making it known. We probably won't be doing anything about it until the start of the new year. So the rebrand will basically take effect on January 1st, but there'll be nothing posted formally until the 10th of January. So the goal is to have the first video out that following Monday, then our first new short on Wednesday, and then, our live streams on Friday nights. So we would try our best to keep this rhythm through the entirety of our project. And I think the channel will be a success as a result of it. At least that's my feeling for it. Anything can happen, obviously. Nothing is ever set in stone that much. So, at least for me, I think keeping this rhythm and kind of branching out into this new realm, I think we'll be able to carve our own little space, our own unique niche within the science fiction writing and literary scope. And I would love nothing more than to present something to the audience that is something they've never seen before and is constantly changing, so it's never the same story. And you're down with the journey because whoever is the main character of whatever story it is, they've interested you, and they entice you to continue. They do everything they can, at least narratively, to keep themselves from losing your interest. And their narrative arcs would be long, but they would always result in something that I think the audience can take away from, something tangible, instead of letting you go on this, several book series and never really find your footing. I mean, that happens with a handful of novel trilogies. And right here with the my Explorer series, we have 2 first novels, the Cross duology, and then we have the remainder of the Explorer series, which is 10 trilogies. So that's 30 novels that I plan to write over the next 25 years. And then we're planning to do 3 supplementary books, which would kind of be released sort of around that time. So there'd be this situation where you'd have the 30 books from the 10 trilogies, and then you'd have the 2 books from the duology, and then the 3 supplemental books. That would be the whole 35 book Explorer series. And we're not going to be completing that until like 2050. So it's a 25-year commitment, and I think it'll be worth it, even if it is quite a long series. The books aren't, I don't plan the books to be all that long. I mean, I do have a range, so I think they're going to be anywhere between 300 and 500 pages, but they're going to be designed so that they're easy, fast reads, but you get a lot from it. And I do want to write at a high literary level, so that's part of the reason I got into the MFA program, is that I could write elevated science fiction that isn't just about fancy gadgets or galactic empires collapsing or whatever it is. So even though there will be some of that when we do get into the series, further into the series, but I want nothing more than to discuss it, and I'm kind of hoping we get that opportunity next year to dive into a lot more of it. I'm not sure if my audience will appreciate the fact that I do plan to do something where we have the Explorer series be our kind of main selling point here at the channel, and then we branch out into other stories that I'm writing in science fiction. But the Explorer Stories series is just so dense and so large that I don't think we would ever run out of content. And I don't know if the audience would agree with me to, dive into other fictional science fiction, fantasy, and horror franchises, and just dive into that as a way of like gaining viewership. I'm kind of at the point where if we just tried to sell or present stuff from the Explorer series on their own, that eventually we would get a following just because we would be able to design stuff that's purely our own instead of having to depend on, riding the coattails of some other franchise. And I think I would rather try to prime the pump in a way that strictly just focuses on the stuff that inspired the Explorer series as opposed to things that are kind of unrelated. So one way I think we can do that is by kind of doing what Rowan Jake Coleman does on his channel, where he kind of dives into the different science fiction franchises that kind of, make a big difference, like Star Trek, or he's done Stargate. He's done a couple episodes for his channel that's kind of dived into other science fiction things, as well as kind of discussing the golden age of science fiction television and the silver age of science fiction television. And I kind of want to piggyback off of that and go my own way with it. I do think that there's enough material to get us going for a while, and they'll be relevant since a lot of that is going to be the discussion of the inspirations for Explorer. And I mean, as far as I'm aware, no one is doing the same things that I'm doing, and that's kind of heartening to a large degree. But I think one of the things that I want to move away from is to be a channel that is just another voice in a chorus that isn't doing anything different or even saying anything different. I want to do something that's definitely bold, definitely unique, definitely creative. But I also want to find out what the audience is, what the tastes of the audience are. And I think a lot of that's going to come from doing the 3 important things that YouTube channels that say, these are the 3 strategies you use to improve your channel, and that's consistency. So releasing on a rhythmic schedule. Your thumbnail. Your thumbnail has to communicate a lot more than what you can put in the headline, and then the title itself, and that would be the headline of whatever your video is, and that would have to be very, very attuned to the content that you want to tell. And I kind of have a vision for how I want to actually do this, because I think I've seen a lot of it on Twitter, especially space Twitter, space artist Twitter, where people are posting up their art. And I've even considered asking some space artists to contribute to the channel so that we can have really top tier thumbnails, and that would, I think, help a lot. And obviously thumbnails are what basically people click on. It's the first thing that they see, and that's what interests them. So I think I've done it a couple of times on this channel. We haven't cracked 1,000 views on any video so far, but we've gotten pretty close, at least a handful of times. And I'm hoping that we can continue doing this by slightly pivoting, but because we spent the last few months since we started this channel just kind of getting a feel for it, getting an idea of where we wanted to go, what we wanted to do. And I discovered that I'm not really that interested in doing like top 10 videos. I'm not that interested in doing video essays on specific stories. I'd rather do videos that if I do video essays, it'll be more geared toward a specific theme or concept. And I did it a couple of times here on the channel through the AI generated videos. And I think I'll be doing that without the AI generation. And then we did do a couple of little primers for From the Earth to the Stars and a few other stories. So I think I'll be maintaining that, but I think the thing that'll improve that is adding some more visuals. So I think we're going to do a combination of dependency on improving the thumbnails and improving the video art as we move through, and in that way, I think it'll be more emblematic of stuff you see on the Templin Institute or Space Dog channels. So that kind of thing excites me a lot. So we'll see what happens on that one. But yeah, I'm hoping that you'll come along for that journey. I think it'll be worth it. But in general, I'm not one to say that we can't do something. I'm definitely somebody who wants the best we can get from this channel. I think we do need to build a better tract between what we want to do and what we can get out of our audience. So obviously we want the audience to get something out of this, and we'll be doing our best to ensure that they can. So I'm definitely going to be a proponent of that. I definitely want to have more audience interaction. And I think part of the reason that our channel would do better would be if we definitely reached out and did more polls, if we did more community engagement beyond that. And I think once we do, we'll be in a much better spot. But we're coming up on about 30 minutes of this episode. We'll probably call it a day at 30 minutes, and then we'll kind of move from there and move ourselves to our next episode, which will be focused on strictly my first semester of the MFA program at SDSU. Right now I'm at my parents' house in Long Beach, so that's a little bit of a change. I don't know if the audio has changed because I am basically being dependent on my computer audio, so I hope it's coming through perfectly. If it is not, I apologize to my viewership. We will definitely be getting that addressed next year. We're going to take advantage of San Diego State University's Digital Humanities Center. We did that a handful of times last semester, or this past semester at campus, and I feel like it really helped our quality. So I think we'll be taking advantage of that moving forward, at least for the next 2.5 years that I am present at San Diego State University as a student in the MFA program. But yeah, no, I mean, I'm excited for our new year. I'm excited for the possibilities we have. I'm excited for all the different plans that we have in the works, and I'm very excited for all of you to find out. I'm also excited for you to see some of the guests that I have lined up. We're going to try to do something that carves us a little niche and makes it to where we're doing something completely different than anybody else. So if you like Space 1999, Planet of the Apes, or Stargate, Firefly, or any of the Star Trek seems to be something that does well on this channel, and I think I know why, but that does fascinate me a little bit. Battlestar Galactica, Mass Effect, all of these titles are definitely things that we're going to be covering next year in some regard or another. And I would really hope that you join us, since Explorer is inspired by all of these projects and many more. And I feel like it'll be very rewarding for the audience to explore these ideas and these stories and then see how they connect to Explorer, and it gets them hyped up to want to buy some of the books that we'll be selling in the new year and in the years to come. So with that, I'll close out this episode of Scuttlebutt with the Phill and move on to our second episode of the evening, which originally this was supposed to be a 2-hour block, but there were some issues. So I think we've addressed them, so I think we'll be fine. But anyway, I just want you guys to know that I'm very appreciative of your guys' time, and I hope you stick around to the end. Whenever the end is, I hope it's many decades from now. But whatever the case is, I'm glad to have you here now. So we'll be closing out this episode. We'll be closing out Scuttlebutt with the Phill for the year, and moving on to our MFA episode. So Don't forget that you should not panic, so don't panic. Don't forget your towel, and most importantly, if you don't see any dolphins in the oceans, then you should probably be concerned because they'll probably be singing "So long" and "Thanks for all the fish."